Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into the rise and fall of an ancient civilization that's honestly mind-blowing. We're talking about the people of Thamud. Just picture this, a society so incredibly skilled, they didn't bother with simple bricks and mortar. Nope, they carved their massive, towering palaces straight out of solid rock. Their architecture was literally unmatched. So let's jump right in and see exactly what happened to such an unstoppable empire.
Now, I want you to think about this question. What actually happens when a civilization starts believing it's completely invincible? It's a heavy thought, right? But it's the foundation of today's story. When a society becomes so blinded by its own wealth, power, and skill that they think absolutely nothing can touch them, well, things usually take a dark turn. And the story of Thamud is the ultimate tragic arc of a society drunk on its own pride.
These guys weren't just your average builders. They were the undisputed masters of the mountains. To put it into perspective, they literally manipulated the natural world to build their legacy, slicing through solid rock faces to carve out absolute fortresses. And here's the thing, these weren't just homes to keep the rain out. They were massive, flashy displays of sheer power and wealth. They bent nature to their will and built a legacy they were incredibly proud of.
The Quran actually captures this perfectly. In Surah Ash-Shura, it says, "And you carve out of the mountains homes with skill." It's so brilliant because it points out not just their masterful masonry, but that deep-seated pride and arrogance behind it. Their homes had become less about shelter and a whole lot more about feeding their own egos.
So, where do they fit in history? Looking back, you've got the people of Noah. Then their predecessors, the people of Ad. Ad was another incredibly powerful nation that got wiped out because of their arrogance. And then we have Thamud, who stepped up as their successors. Now you'd think knowing the tragic fate of the people right before them would serve as a warning, right? But as you'll see, that just makes what happens next even more shocking.
This verse from Surah Al-Araf really hits the nail on the head. And remember, when he made you successors after Ad and settled you in the land. The key takeaway here is that Thamud inherited all of this. They were gifted these incredibly lush valleys of Al-Ijr, which we call Mada'in Saleh today. But instead of learning from history, they just got super comfortable. They completely lost themselves in their worldly glitz and glamour.
The contrast here is just wild. On one hand, you have these massive divine blessings, lush green valleys, fresh springs, those impenetrable mountain palaces. But on the other hand, their actions were a mess. Instead of being grateful, they started worshiping lifeless stone idols that they carved with their own hands. Their material wealth was literally peaking, but spiritually, they were completely bankrupt, filled with unchecked arrogance and ingratitude.
Part 1. The Call of Prophet Salih.
When a society falls that far, guidance usually arrives. And it came in the form of a man chosen right from their own ranks, someone they knew and grew up with, Prophet Salih. His message wasn't some complex, hard-to-understand philosophy. It was incredibly direct. He just told them, "O my people, worship Allah. You have no deity other than Him." It was a simple, beautiful callback to monotheism and humility.
But as you can probably guess, when power goes to your head, truth becomes really hard to swallow. The elite leaders of Thamud fiercely pushed back. Instead of accepting this clear truth, they stubbornly clung to their empty ancestral traditions. To them, the idea of abandoning the stone idols of their forefathers just because a regular guy from their community told them to? No way! They weren't having it.
Surah Hud captures their shock so well. They literally say, "O Salih, you were among us as a man of promise before this. Do you forbid us to worship what our fathers worshipped?" You can hear the absolute disbelief in their voices. They thought he was going to be one of their great leaders, and instead, he's challenging their entire way of life. They were just too attached to their status quo to see the truth.
Part 2. The Miracle of the She-camel, an impossible test.
So, things escalate. The elite decide to give Prophet Saleh an impossible ultimatum. They demand he bring a huge pregnant she-camel right out of the solid rock. They figured there's absolutely no way he can pull this off. But then, jaw-dropping moment. Right before their eyes, the solid mountain actually split open, and out walked the exact miraculous camel they demanded. It was a moment that literally defied all logic.
But this wasn't just a magic trick. It was a profound divine sign. Prophet Salih gave them a very solemn warning, saying, "This is the she-camel of Allah. Let her feed on Allah's earth and do not touch her with harm, lest you be seized by a painful punishment." The miracle they asked for, it just became their ultimate test. And there were very strict ground rules for this test.
1. Do absolutely no harm to the she-camel. 2 and 3. Because this camel was so massive, she needed a lot of water. So they had to alternate days at the town's spring. The camel got the spring to herself for one day, and the people and their livestock got it the next. It was a true test of patience and obedience, and honestly, it started exposing the deep rebellion brewing inside the elite.
Part 3, Rebellion and Divine Punishment.
Now here's where the story takes a really dark turn. The elite's arrogance couldn't handle sharing their resources. Waiting a whole day for water because of an animal? It was a massive blow to their egos. So, under the cover of darkness, a group of these rebellious men hatched a secret plot. They conspired to break the ultimate rule and slaughter the miraculous camel. They were so blinded by pride that they completely ignored the terrifying warning Saleh had given them. And they actually did it. They hamstrung and killed the she-camel. This wasn't just a crime. As the Quran points out, they were insolent toward the command of their Lord. It was an act of pure, unadulterated arrogance. By doing this, they crossed the point of no return. They sealed their own fate right then and there.
Almost immediately, the skies darkened. Their time was up. All that power, all those invincible feelings they had, completely useless now. A terrifying storm began to brew, signaling the sudden, inescapable arrival of divine wrath. You can only imagine the sheer panic setting in as they realized what they'd just unleashed.
And then, the earth itself turned against them. A catastrophic, violent earthquake struck the region. Those massive mountain fortresses they were so incredibly proud of, the ones they thought would protect them from anything, they shattered. In a matter of moments, their greatest achievements became their tombs.
Surah Al-Araf describes the aftermath so vividly. So the earthquake seized them, and they became within their home corpses, fallen prone. It was just so sudden, so final. They didn't even have time to flee. One minute they were the masters of the world, and the next, their entire civilization was wiped off the map.
Part 4. The Ruins and the Lesson. Mada'in Saleh today.
Thousands of years later, this isn't just ancient history, it's a living reality. The ruins of Mada'in Saleh are still standing in the Saudi Arabian desert today. But they aren't just cool tourist spots. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, passed by there and gave a profound warning. He said not to enter the dwellings of those who wronged themselves unless you are weeping, fearing the same affliction might strike you. It frames these ruins as a solemn, chilling reminder of divine justice.
So, what does this all mean for us? I want to leave you with this thought. If literal mountains and impenetrable rock fortresses couldn't save them from their own arrogance, what protects us? Does our modern tech, our money, or our status make us any more invincible? True success and survival don't come from material power. They come from humility.
I really hope this explainer gave you something valuable to think about today. If you enjoyed diving into this history with us, please hit that like button and share it with your friends. And of course, make sure to subscribe to Animated Quranic Tale for more deep dives into these incredible histories. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we'll see you in the next one.